Well, hello again to Ponderosa North for the love of Bonanza. Well, I'm going to continue with my character studies today, continuing with the eldest son, Adam. No nicknames for Adam. Occasionally he was referred to as older brother, but his name was as straightforward as he was, just plain Adam. And it was a very fitting name for him. He was a stubborn guy. He was cocky. He was brilliant. Very sarcastic, charming when he wanted to be, sensible and confident. He was a very confident person, level-headed and mature. I think that maturity came from his childhood. He sort of had a dark side to him, and you kind of can't blame him because as a child, he experienced a great deal of loss. I've mentioned before, by the time he was 17, he'd lost 3 mothers. His own mother died giving birth to him, so he never knew her. Then he witnessed Inga being killed, and I think he was very close to her. I think he really loved her. And then his next mother, Marie, which he probably was very close to as well, she passed away too. So that's a lot of loss for a young person to sort of take in. Plus, he traveled the entire country with his father to get to Nevada. So, yeah, I can understand why he was a sort of a very serious, straightforward, mature person, probably at a very young age. He was a very smart man. He returned to the East to go to university for architecture and engineering. And when he returned, he designed the ranch house, he designed roads and churches, he kept the books, he even taught school. He was sort of a private investigator too. He solved a lot of crimes. And then he sort of fell into a lawyer kind of thing in Elegy for a Hangman. So he was very, very, very inept in just about everything he did. He had this very oxymoronic sort of personality. I just want to show this picture to you. This, just so you know, is Adam's "don't mess with me" face. He used this face quite a bit, and most especially if somebody threatened his family or his ranch or somebody that he cared about. That was a face he used often, and it was a daunting one. But yes, a very Renaissance man. He was a cowboy, and he was an engineer. He was a logger, and he was a designer. He was a fence mender, and he was a guitar playing singer. So very, very much a Renaissance man. He did everything. He tried everything. He wanted to do everything. He wanted to learn constantly. And whatever he set his mind to, he did very, very well. He was often the bearer of bad news. This happened quite often. You know, Hoss would be smitten with somebody, or little Joe would be engaged to someone, and halfway through the story, Adam would write in and go, "Got some bad news. You know that woman you're with? Well, she's a gambler. I knew her in San Francisco." So it happened quite often that the story would be all bright and sunny, and then Adam would come home and break the bad news to everybody. He was a ladies' man, but I don't think he flaunted it. Unlike little Joe, who knew he was adorable and knew that he was handsome and used it to his benefit often, he just had that confidence in himself as far as women came along. And Adam did too, but he was a little more subtle about it. But he had no problem with the ladies. He was engaged to Laura Dayton, as we all know, but I think we all knew from the beginning that relationship was doomed to fail. It was a very sort of clinical, kind of cold, yeah, you're the only sort of person around, so I guess, you know, it just had no passion. It was very flat relationship, and I don't think any of us saw it going to actual marriage. But he did have 2 loves of his life. He had Ruth, who I believe was the real love of his life in The Savage, and she didn't let him get away with anything. She was very much an equal to Adam, and I think he really liked that. I think he really liked the strength of Ruth, and that was a very passionate, loving relationship that was, again, the curse sort of set in, and it was not to be. And then Regina, in the Hopefuls, that was a very sort of passionate relationship. The moment he set eyes on Regina, it clicked with him. He was thunderstruck by her, and again that that didn't work out. So he ended up with Laura Dayton, and that failed too. And there were a few other ladies along the way too, but it was not meant to be for Adam, for the loves of his life. He was an athletic guy too, bull of the woods, right? And a terrific rider. I loved watching Adam ride his horse. I love this. He used to do this standing lunge with his horse Sport, where he's at a standstill and within a few steps, he's in full gallop. I just loved watching him do that. He did it very often. It was very graceful, man, and on the ground and mounted. Just loved watching Adam ride his horse. He had a very cutting wit, very sarcastic. He was a serious person, but he had a sense of humor too. I mean, in Woman of Fire, he was very, 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 very funny in that episode, and A Night to Remember. But often he was very sarcastic, and even his father would call him out on it, saying, "You don't have to be sarcastic." Well, actually, I do, kind of thing. So as far as relationships go, Adam and Ben were more like colleagues and co-workers. Yes, they were loving father and son, but they were equals too. And I think Ben really depended on Adam for his advice and his support. And let's face it, the raising of two young boys. I mean, I'm sure Adam was called on to take care of his younger brothers more often than not. So yeah, back to the maturity, back to the being an adult at a young age kind of thing for Adam, which kind of made him sort of, very steady, very sort of, solemn, we shall say. Adam and Haas, loving brother relationship. They seemed to get along like a house on fire. They traveled well together, and they just a loving, respectful relationship with Adam and Haas. But Haas, that seemed to be his MO. He seemed to have that kind of relationship with just about everybody. Adam and Joe, as I've mentioned before, very complicated, very contentious relationship. They simply had a personality conflict, and that happens in families all the time. But that's not to say that they weren't loving brothers. They were. They loved each other very much, and Joe was very protective of Adam, and vice versa. They were very, very loving towards one another, but often it was not so much. The other thing I want to mention about Adam is that I thought he was, well, we all know that he was a born leader, and I thought that he could be president. He'd be a great candidate for president or governor. That would have been a great storyline for him, because a person like Adam Cartwright could have gone really, really far, especially in the time that he lived. So that's it for my character study of Adam Cartwright. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Ponderosa North for the love of Bonanza. Bye for now.